Well, today on the big story, we're still looking at two major issues that played out just this week. On Monday, the National Bureau of Statistics released the inflation rate for September, putting it at 26.75%, and food inflation put at 30.64% year-on-year basis, meaning that food inflation, as it has been for the last 9 months, has always been the major driver pushing the inflation high. That was on Monday, and on Tuesday, which was just yesterday, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu stick to his promise of conditional cash transfer to 15 million households. Many criticized the move earlier when he made that assertion that he would do so, and many applauded it, but the discussion is what we're still having. And we still have him here, and I'm talking of no other person but Prince Kojentwe. What we'll do now is quickly go on a break and get a message from our sponsors, and we're talking about Benita Gas, located right here in Ugeli, Okokoko, Warri, and environs. And when we come back, more discussion on the big story.
Oh, yeah, follow Uno Road, auto better quality. If you talk gas matter, oh, yeah, follow Beneta. Gas with the better quality. Beneta gas, where they full rich man to Beneta gas. Every brother na shopal. Beneta gas, no mango. Beneta gas, different type of gas cylinder. I mean, I don't gas we go last you well. Na Beneta gas, matter Beneta now do. Beneta gas, service in a them they run. Na Beneta make you carry go.
For gas matter and home delivery, make you wire Beneta gas plant for 080-6745-7890 and 080-5904-7722. Beneta gas plant, the tequile of gas matters.
Well, that's definitely a message from our sponsors, and you do know, like I will always insist, the big story is big enough to accommodate all your businesses, hence you can come and let's see how we can talk business. But anyway, we're still the business of the day and looking at the major topic on the big story for today, and we're still looking at the grain inflation rate, especially as it concerns food inflation that seems to be the major driver of that inflation, as also we're looking at, well, a way to deal with it. And that's the federal government coming out with conditional cash transfer to 15 million households that seems to be vulnerable and would totally need more help to deal with the issue of food inflation and other growing inflation. But anyway, before we went on the break, we talked extensively about that, and we feel we need to continue on that level and talk again still about the issue of food inflation. Before we went on the break, you talked about the impact it will have on the lives of Nigerians, and there's no here saying that it's really going to be quite a devastating one for us in the coming months ahead if we do not deal with the fundamentals. But let's look at solutions and what needs to be done. Because the Nigerian Red Cross, ironically, also on Monday, that the NBS was releasing the report, alerted Nigerians and the international community to the acute food insecurity in the country. When he said about 25 million Nigerians will now be affected by severe hunger and malnutrition. But my question is, what can the government do to help reduce the issue of food insecurity and better help us to avert such disaster? 25 million Nigerians are in the breach of almost dying of hunger. So the Red Cross said on Monday. Is there a quick fix to this?
There's no quick fix, what the government can do. But one of the things they've done is a red flag for me, because on banning the access to forex for especially those items, rice, palm oil, and all that, it simply means that individuals who have invested. Because come to think of it, initially I was talking about power. Yeah. It's cheaper to produce in a foreign country than bring it in. Yeah. So they can't compete. Yes. They won't be able to compete. That's the truth. So it's going to affect.
But on the short term, will it not flood the market with a whole lot of food that we need at this time?
No, it may not, because of our forex challenge. Because of our forex challenge. If you see, the naira is right now as we speak, it's 1,050 naira in the black market, and about I think 876 naira yesterday. For the first time, it moved to 876 naira in the official market. So it may not, honestly speaking, because if we had a lot of dollars, then you will say, okay, fine, beautiful. They will flood the market. Or if you watch, there's so much backlog of forex
that it has to be paid for.
Yeah, that has to be settled. And the government obviously has not done that. And there's going to be more demand. And because once demand source the supply,
most certainly it will drive up.
It will drive up. So it coming down now, I don't think, I can't see that, honestly. So that's going to be a major challenge. If you ask me, the government should not have floated this naira, because our economy is in a bad place. When your economy is in a bad place, weak infrastructure, your production is poor, you don't float your naira and leave it to market forces. Because you are not, when you leave your naira to market forces, it means you have some fundamentals in place. You trust yourself that you are going to earn foreign exchange enough.
On account of you putting it open.
Yes. But right now, I think that's a major, it's something
that's what's getting you more confused on their policy.
Yes, because I feel strongly that you don't do that. The state of the economy, the way it was when this present administration came in to meet it at that point, you don't do that. It's a good thing to do, but it's not necessary. It wasn't necessary at that point. Like I was saying, you address some of the fundamentals, then you gradually move there. Maybe in a year's time, a year plus time. But just
when there's relative stability.
Yes. That's why you see that everything spins out of control. And it's still spinning out of control. Then if you watch, the government thought if they float the naira, investors will come. No. Everywhere, the investor has his money in his pocket. He's looking all over the world. It's not sentimentally attached to anywhere.
It's just business.
It's just business. For them, it's business. So they'll go to where those fundamentals are, where there's security, there's power. They know that if I invest in so and so production plant, I won't have, there's
every likelihood period of time outside receiving my benefit.
Somebody will look at a country where there's stable power. They will not say, I'm coming to Nigeria because Naira is floating.
Do you feel that is why South Africa, just yesterday, according to the IMF, is now the biggest economy in Africa, beating Nigeria to second place? Because we heard it was 546 billion compared to our met $374 billion.
Yes, if you watch. So
power was the major indices that drove more investment.
South Africa's power is very stable. I think they are doing about 40-something thousand, almost 50,000 and all.
Where I was just grappling on 4,000.
4,000. It's very stable. Like I said, if you don't get power right, you are going nowhere. Every other thing you are doing, you're just dancing around the same corner. So basically, that if you ask me, if you ask me my own personal opinion, I would say the government should go back and regulate the exchange rate. If you ask me, because the government need to do that. That will not put it, because most of the industries managing to produce right now. Most of them managing to produce, because the challenge is, if you are doing production in Nigeria, from step A to step Z, probably the last part of the step is what you can source or do in Nigeria. From A to almost close, you are going to import them into the country. And you don't have access
to Forex.
How do you do that? Okay, if you have access, it's too expensive. Almost all of your money you pay to bring in this material. So that's why you see that the prices of goods are going up.
I know, we'll go up with our discussion, because as much as you've said that, it looks as if, like you said, we seem to be dancing around in circles. And if the government doesn't do something fast on that.
They have
It's
to,
really
honestly.
not be in the right shape. But let's look at something the government did yesterday, rather.
Yes.
Because that's also a major of our discussion. And that is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu fulfilling with his promise of sending 25,000 naira to 15 million households. And also, you understand is even a part of what he signed with, an MOU he signed with Labour. That he will definitely give out that the cash. But according to the World Bank, who is the major facilitator, it believes this will help reduce poverty. But I'm really interested and keen in getting your own reaction to this conditional cash transfer. Is it expected to totally, in all honesty, reduce poverty even in the short term? But anyway, I'm happy I got a laugh from you.
Yes,
you were really serious with all the issues before.
I don't know, but I read one of a very poor country before was Bangladesh. And if you look at, they say when you want to do anything, you look at the history of those who have done it.
And see how and saw the reactions, the result coming from it.
How they did it. Bangladesh did not move people out of poverty by putting money in their pockets. Like what I was talking about initially, I said all these shops, the small, medium enterprises,
SMEs
and all that. That's how to move people out of poverty, not putting money in their pocket. But what this government is even doing, it's somehow in the sense that it's for 3 months. You are paying 25,000 naira to people for 3 months, and we know the value of 25,000. I came into the studio this morning when they were doing the newspaper review.
Yeah.
And the guest for that review, he said it clearly. He said 25,000 naira cannot make a pot of soup that will last a week in present-day Nigeria. That's it. That's the truth. That's the basic truth. For a family of 4, 5, 6 persons. That's the basic truth. So if you are putting 25,000 naira in their pockets, 50 million households, that's for the next 3 months, that's about I think 1 point, yesterday I did the calculation.
1 point something trillion.
1 point something trillion. Now, if you do that, have you helped those individuals or not? It's expected that, what is expected, okay, they have access to the money, then they will not put that money back into the economy, in buying food, in buying one thing or the other, so the economy will not peak. I don't think you have helped them. What this government ought to have done is support small businesses. All those market women, that really market, these women doing, just, if you give them that money, that 25,000 naira, you give it to them for the next 3 months, it will support the economy more than what they are doing now. That was what Bangladesh did. That's what they did. They gave monies to traders, to small business people, and they make sure that if you take the money, you pay, they give you more. You take the money, they pay. After how many years, about 10 years, they saw that they've moved a lot of people from poverty. You don't move people from poverty by dashing their money. It doesn't happen, Mike. It doesn't happen anywhere. You think, I think, or maybe on the short term, well, yes, but basically our economy the way it is now, it won't help us. It's not going to help us. Then beside that, we have the challenge of data.
Yeah, because that's what I want to go. Apart from data, what of the issue of even how transparent these households will be? Because this is money. 1 trillion is a large sum of money. And when we look at how really transparent, this process was also done before now. In the last administration, we saw them do it. And funny enough,
there was many scandals around it.
Yes, during the first Federal Executive Council meeting that was held in August, this same administration kicked against that of the transparency of what was done in the previous administration. And they complained bitterly of how transparent that register was. But let's look at the transparency of this even process itself. Do you feel to get to the household that is intended to? Because often we saw the humanitarian minister, Betta Edu, said, well, she's even ready to go from door to door to check the authenticity of these people taking it. I know that will also draw a laugh from you. But I was talking about who the recipients of this money are. Is transparency going to be a major issue about this? Because yes, you feel it will not help, but let's assume in the long term, in the short term, it will help. But how transparent is this process? And should that not be an issue?
No, that's a basic issue, but nobody is sure about the transparency because our data base in Nigeria is not too strong.
Okay.
Our database in Nigeria is not too strong. Because if our database is strong, that should not be an issue.
Okay.
Yes, because definitely from the data of every individual, you will know who is poor and who is not poor.
Yes. But do we have such?
We don't. We don't. It's for years now we've been trying to capture a lot of people into the database. Even at a point, they have to tie it to our phone numbers, and they say if you don't, if you can't register with NIN, your services will be cut off. A lot of people went to register, but we don't know how far that process went. If individuals, if that database was strong, you don't have any problem with it. It's just to tap into it, and the money will move in the different direction you ought to move. On Saturday, this is a personal experience. On Saturday, somebody I know, I was called, he was sick. So I was called, and I have to go and meet him, and what's wrong? He's not well, he doesn't have money, doesn't have anything, he can't eat, can't cater for his family, so I have to take him to the hospital so that I can be catered for. And they also gave him some money. That person is not captured. That's a personal experience. I've not seen, honestly, I've not seen anybody who is captured. I don't know anybody who is captured. At least, I should. You should know some people. If all of us, we know 1, 2, 3 persons who are captured, then you become comfortable. We're in a situation where you don't know anybody at all. You start wondering, and people you know don't know. So what's it?
Who are the 15 million?
Who are the 15? Who are those people? Who are the household? Because you know people around you, in your neighbor. It's just like the 5 billion that was given to the states for palliative. We just heard it.
Yes.
Like in the same newspaper review, they said they've not seen anybody who got this palliative, and somebody in my establishment, somebody came and said, they brought some cups of rice to a ward somewhere. Then I was asking, I said, what is that? But I feel strongly that this money is just being thrown away. Those are monies that you can use to do certain things, and it will have impact. Because one thing I thought this government was going to really focus on is this CNG, the compressed natural gas. CNG is cheap, and whoever is interested, and there are some CNG plants in Nigeria, because these independent market producers, they've set up some CNG plants, and they've been on the neck of government that, look, fund us. So when this whole thing happened, they led a delegation to Aso Rock to meet President Tinubu, said, look, just fund us. Some of these plants are just fund us and
let's kickstart.
It is cheap. This is gas that is cheaper than our cooking gas. It can power vehicles and it is very cheap. But you see that government is
so you feel this 1 trillion would have gone there for more Nigerians to benefit rather than...
It will solve a lot of problems, because the challenge we have now is fuel is expensive. Energy, you can't move from one point to the other. The transporters moving food, moving this, moving that. Because this thing is expensive, they are passing the cost
directly to
the traders. So the traders will now pass the cost to you and me and all of us. So that's the challenge. So if I was thinking that when these independent producers, they led, I said, yes, this is what the government should do. They should focus on this. Although it's not everybody that is going to be interested in CNG. But if you are doing transportation business, you should be interested. Now, all I hear is the government saying we are going to buy 20,000 buses, CNG, and give to everybody. I can't see any clear definition, any clear direction. I was thinking that, okay, Delta State, this is Delta State, we have CNG plant here, we have there. Okay, the government is going to buy CNG plants with buses, we distribute them here, distribute them there. There's a plan if you have your own car. If you are interested, the transportation companies, we can give you, if it's a loan, if it's a grant, that's what you do. And those are practical things you do. And it will start having impact. Honestly, instead of this, because that 5 billion they gave to states to go and buy palliative. We don't know, okay, they bought, there's no impact to that. Now this one, those are monies you can use to do focus on CNG. In the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months, it will have impact.
Well, anyway, we're really hitting with the impact, and I'll plead with you that the mind is impactful. We need to go on a break now. And when we come back, we'll continue our discussion centered on the big story for today. We're looking at 2 majors, and we're talking about the growing inflation as much as we're looking at that conditional cash transfer that started yesterday. Let's go on a break today.